Okay, so we're Team Fulcrum doing problem statement 2. And so some of the current issues we have is that the World Wildlife Fund's research suggests that more than $600 billion of the global food is traded illegally. And in addition, food fraud is another crime that affects 1% of the entire global food industry. And the current supply chain they have now isn't transparent enough because agricultural companies prefer a more centralized medium of data storage.
So what are the existing solutions? So what we have in place right now in most companies is a traditional ledger. So this doesn't have any inherent security, and it's very centralized. And so lots of people are trying to advocate for a distributed ledger or a blockchain in supply chains. And so this does have inherent security. It prevents tampering, and it can be publicly available for people to audit. They both keep product inventory, but the downside for a lot of blockchain implementations is that they don't correlate one-to-one with real-world assets. So this is where our product really shines. We have developed a way to combine blockchain technologies with tracking real-world items to make sure that they arrive where they're supposed to be on time. So this is a quick example. So let's say our sender would be a farm. The recipient would be maybe the distributor. So the sender will send a message in the ledger that's recorded, and it says that they're going to send something to the recipient. And then based on that send transaction in the ledger, it generates a physical security key that they transmit with the physical shipments to the distributor. And then once they receive it, they use that security key to send a confirmation in the ledger to know that there was an actual exchange of goods. And we're happy to talk more about the technologies behind this if you have questions.
Now, these are the rest of our stakeholders in our group, from the farmer to the consumer, with the regulators overlooking it. Our major stakeholders for this undertaking are the National Farmers Union and United States Department of Agriculture as our regulation partner.
All right, so let's begin with the login page for a verified member of the agricultural supply chain, who must be verified by the United States Department of Agriculture and companies using Fulcrum. So let's sign up. Afterwards, any given member must input a picture of the current produce and share their location to receive an RFID, a unique publicly approved by the USDA and company officials. An RFID is only given if the current location is an approved agriculture site by USDA. After the RFDA is approved, agricultural supply chain members enter key data necessary for the movement into the next stage of the blockchain. This information is then carefully carried across the blockchain in an encrypted manner using the RFID key. So let's look at the customer interface. So I sign in, and then I choose a local partner, such as Fry's, and then I can go check the specific network that this apple has traveled. And so this shows all the different stages the apple has traveled, and this allows for transparency and trust between companies and customers. It also allows companies involved in the different stages to be held accountable because this information is public. And then the produce is grown in a sustainable way and on sustainable lands.
So for our value proposition, this project is based off an open source blockchain, which means that consumers will be able to look up and trace the history of a shipment once they arrive at stores. Meanwhile, the USDA will also be capable of preventing fraud and being able to identify if tampering with the shipment has occurred. And lastly, we hope to encompass all stages and stakeholders in the supply chain.
Yeah, so our business model, we use grants to develop the Fulcrum blockchain and prototype application. So our major source of revenue is from grants to develop the prototype application. And we get revenue after the application when we license the model to agencies for public use, like the USDA, the FDA. And the majority of the funding will come from these agencies. The companies that want to join our network would also have to pay a registration fee to join the network with a renewal fee every 3 years. So the next steps would be for our product, for our blockchain to be adopted by the FDA and the USDA, and to increase its use by making it mainstream, so to target the 3 major market holders in agriculture, then to generalize product to all supply chains, for example, move from agriculture to, let's say, fertilizers or tree logging industries, and then expand the primary market by moving forward and licensing our product to other regulatory agencies, foreign governments, and even the private sector.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Great. Moving on to Q&A. Jeffrey, go ahead.
Hey guys, great brief. Really enjoyed it. Nice flow to it, and like seeing y'all involved there. Question: because you're dealing with such a large amount of regulatory agencies, did you guys come across any policy issues related to what you're going to try to implement here from the technical aspect?
Yes. It's from what I found, public-private partnerships are quite common within regulatory agencies, especially between the USDA and the FDA, because they deal with very similar food products.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Anything else?
Any other judges have? Oh, Pete, go ahead.
Yeah, great presentation, guys. Really enjoyed it. Mine falls here on the cost side. Obviously, you're going to have companies that pick and don't pick to participate. At least that's how you proposed it. But I'm assuming that the cost of performing or being involved is going to be passed on ultimately to the consumer. Is that the thought? And is it that the value of the supply chain or your blockchain obfuscate those costs, if that's clear?
So a lot of the cost for implementing this blockchain and this technology would come from agency funding and grants and seed funding, things like that. The cost that's passed, the only recurring costs is the registration for companies. So that would be for distributors. They would have to register with the USDA to become a member of it, and that would be not a giant fee, and it would only be once every 3 years is what we planned. And then the only other recurring fee is for the security keys. And what we found is that they can be produced for as low as 15 cents.
And to kind of add on to that, we feel like the companies would be interested in investing in our solution because they're allowing for more transparent information. The consumers right now want to know whether they're getting, like, where the food is being sourced and if it's being grown in a sustainable manner. Like, is it being grown on lands that are allowed to, like, it's not on like national forests or preserved rainforests. Like, we saw this problem coming with logging, where a lot of our logging and agriculture is coming from preserved rainforests in Brazil and the Amazon rainforest. So tracing outbreaks is also another key thing that our blockchain would allow, since we know all the parts of the network.
I think we're out of time for questions.